r/tifu. Tifu by trying to please my wife so hard I thought I'd die. Posted by sexytimecramps. This happened last month. I have a wonderful wife, and even though we are in our late 30s and have 3 kids, we still like to copulate on a recreational level. Now, my wife can be hard to please. She's a slow starter, and has a hard time reaching an orgasm from intercourse, which means that once I'm finished I'm dedicated to helping her reach the finish line too. This can take an additional 90 minutes from any previous coital activities. Frankly, it's the hardest workout of my life, and often leaves me with a tennis elbow and inability to pronounce words for 30 minutes after. On the plus side, I often don't have time to do the dishes after. Now, I'd say I'm more of an attentive lover than a good one. I tend to think of the female orgasm as a beat-em-up on PlayStation. If I just push all the buttons, something special has to happen sooner or later. Over the years I've come to identify which buttons my wife likes to have pressed, and I've realized part of her being a slow starter stems from her being able to orgasm multiple times until she reaches a huge finale with a standing ovation, fireworks, etc. This means that any amorous activities need to fit into our packed time schedule. It had been a while since we were able to put the little monsters asleep at a reasonable time, which had probably led to a loss of form on my behalf. Last month we were able to get done, as our local priest likes to put it. This time, like an amateur, I tried to match her and make her reach climax first. So I'm mixing intense lovemaking with pulling out and going to town on her to help her reach her destination. Through no fault of my own, my wife seems to enjoy it. She is having multiple of the minor orgasms, and I'm clinging on for dear life, hoping that she will reach the big one already, and also trying very hard to remember not to say that out loud. I'm a sweaty mess, the room is really warm, and I'd like to take a break for a sip of water and turning a fan on. Or to send in a replacement. Also, we will probably have to buy a new sofa. We keep going at it, my pelvis is thrusting like a jackhammer on the fritz, and my tummy is making weird sounds. Suddenly, my entire stomach decides that if I'm dumb enough to keep going despite its many warnings, it will take matters into its own hands. The worst pain I've ever suffered suddenly hits me mid-thrust, as my intestines try to break free of their confinement. I fold like Rivaldo during the World Cup 2002, doubling over on top of my wife, who thinks I can no longer resist her sexiness and am about to fall asleep in 5 minutes. "I love you," she whispers in my ear. "I'm dying." I croak in return. I finally push myself to my feet, and try to make it to my phone on the TV table to call 911. It's no good. I fall to the floor in a little ball of pain. It feels like the stomach is trying to rearrange the guts but can't decide where everything goes. After what feels like an eternity, the crashing waves of pain start to ebb out. My wife stands over me with a slightly worried expression. "You okay?" "Just cramps." I pant as I realize what just happened to me, finally realizing why people would drown from cramps. Oh, she's quiet for a beat. "Can we go again?" I have spent the last month getting real exercise in a gym, and taking up stretching. I've also realized that if I ever come close to dying, I'm properly f***ed unless my wife has been too. TLDR, the one time I didn't please my wife it nearly killed me. r/tifu. TIFU, took the biggest dump of my life while on a call with client and forgot to mute. Posted by Grooven_holic. We usually use Zoom for conference calls, but some reasons it wasn't working on that meeting. So my coworker who physically attend the meeting with client arranged a group WhatsApp call. So I was taking the call from my phone. It's all good, it was in the morning and I was having my morning coffee when suddenly the nature calls. Since I was taking the call on my phone, I figured to bring the phone to the toilet with me so I can still follow the discussion. The thing is, I was on mute when I first joined the call. But the call disconnected when I was in the toilet. My coworker redialed everyone again and I forgot to mute during this second call. So I'm blaming WhatsApp for not having auto-mute feature in a group call. It was after the call I read a message from my coworker, "Are you on mute?" TLDR, I took the biggest dump of my life while on a call with client and forgot to mute. You are an absolute legend for making it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. And if you can't get enough, consider subscribing. See you around.